Hi everyone, and welcome to the first of my videos in which I'm going to recommend some books. So I've called this series Something Old, Something New because I thought it'd be quite interesting to sort of recommend or talk about a range of books. So the first one is the old one. It's not a particularly old book, but it's old in terms of I read it quite a while ago now. It's Tana French's The Wych Elm, which was out in, when was this out? 2018, so quite recent really. But I think I read it as a proof before it came out, and it was the first one of hers I'd ever read actually. But I really enjoyed this. It's a book that I think I was sent with a view to me giving it a quote or helping to promote it in some way anyway. And I picked it up because it just appealed to me because the story I think is based on a story from near where I grew up. There's a kind of folklore, urban myth, mystery called Bella in the Wych Elm, which, I mean, I don't know if that's what gave Tana the idea or was part of the inspiration, but I imagine it probably was. And that happened in the Midlands where I grew up. So that was one of the reasons I particularly picked this book up to have a look. And it's just a really interesting read. It follows the story of Toby, who's a kind of popular, rich young man who nothing has ever really gone wrong for, has never really had to worry about anything in his life. But then he is burgled and then attacked in quite quick succession. And following the attack, he sort of is reduced to a bit of a sort of shadow of his former self, I suppose, and has to retreat and regroup and rethink. And so to do that, he goes back to the home that he and his siblings used to go to as children, where his uncle is dying, basically suffering from a terminal illness. So Toby's very much an unreliable narrator, which is one of the things that appeals to me, I think, and also has kind of holes in his memory, which is probably again another reason why it particularly appeals to me. But the title comes from the discovery in one of the trees in the garden of this family home a skeleton, and the book then becomes a sort of twisty mystery thriller about what happened and how and why that skeleton came to be there. I find it really interesting, and one of the reasons I really love this book is because it's so beautifully written. I mean, it's quite long. It's 500 pages ish, but nothing in there feels wasted or extraneous, to me anyway, and just some brilliant characters, great story. So I really recommend The Wych Elm by Tana French. And then the next book is something new. It's not new in terms of just being published, but it's new to me. I've only kind of recently read it. So again, this is another book from 2018. It's Laura Lippman's Sunburn. I think this is a book I actually bought. I do buy a lot of books actually, but I wasn't sent it. I bought it because I'd seen quite a few people reading it, and it's that sort of thing where you see a lot of people not on the street, but cafes and things like that, and on the tube and whatever, reading the same book, and you think, oh, there's something there I don't want to miss. So I bought it and read it, and I really enjoyed it. It's a very noirish thriller which follows two people who meet in a bar in I think it's Delaware, in Delaware, and they're both kind of mysterious characters who very obviously have secrets in their past, and it's a quite difficult book to talk about without giving too much away, but it's a kind of unraveling. It's not very far into the book. I don't think this is a spoiler really. It's not very far into the book before we learn that well, okay, that is a spoiler. Okay, try again. One of the characters has a very big secret in their past, involving a murder, and and it's a kind of unraveling of that and what went on at the same time as this kind of strange, dark love story, very noirish, very and again very well written. I mean, I love the language and the story, and I think you can't really beat that. So that's another recommendation. So new to me, Laura Lippman's Sunburn. And then for something borrowed, I thought, by borrowed, I suppose I mean a recommendation, a book that's been sent to me that I didn't ask for, that somebody else's enthusiasm has brought to my attention. Because I do get a lot of books sent, as I think I've talked about in a previous video. And I want to talk here about the book I'm reading at the moment, which is called Call Me Mummy. It's a debut by Tina Baker, and it was sent to me just really quite recently by Miranda, who's an editor at Viper. I'm only 34 pages into it, but so far I'm really enjoying it. It's told in two voices. One is a story of a woman. I mean, I don't know very much about either of these characters really yet, but it's the woman who I think she's an older woman. I get the sense that she's an older woman who sees a child and has always wanted to be a mother, but isn't, for reasons which I'm sure we'll find out. But decides to take this child because this child appears to be being neglected by her mother in a shopping centre, who's kind of on her phone and swearing and things like that. So this older woman clearly decides that this young girl needs to be with her rather than with her real mother, and takes her. And then the other voice is the woman who's lost her child, whose child is taken. So it's fascinating so far. Page 34, obviously, say it's very early days, but I'm really enjoying that. So that's my kind of borrowed recommendation, because if it maintains, if it goes on being as good as it is at the moment, then I think it's going to be a really interesting read. So that's Call Me Mummy by Tina Baker. And then for my final choice, something blue. I thought, by blue, what do I mean by blue? I thought I meant something a bit cheeky. So I'm actually going to recommend my own book, which is also blue, so that's why. So Final Cut. I don't think I've talked about very much about this, have I? Now, clearly I have. So yeah, that's my final recommendation, is Final Cut by me. So yeah, I hope that's been enjoyable and give you something to think about, some books to consider reading. And yeah, I'll catch up with you soon.